Hey guys, Megan here with Barn Besties. I am on location in sunny California. Sadly, my partner in crime, Steffi, is back home. However, guess what? I am here with Katie Shumacher of Shumacher Farms. She is showing us her farm, and we are standing in front of her beautiful riding arena. And so, Katie, take it away. Tell us about your beautiful arena.
Yeah, so it's about 100 by 200 feet. We have footing solutions and that gets mixed with a silica sand so that they bind, and you get this really nice surface that has a good amount of cushion for the horses, but it's not too deep. And we also have sprinklers set up around the arena, so that helps keep it at the right level of moisture.
What is this?
And yes, this is a fire hose hookup. So that was here when we moved onto the property. And before we put the sprinklers in, you can hook up a fire hose and you can use it to water the entire arena. But it's also great. We decided to leave it if for any reason the fire department had to come out, they can hook up and get that same water pressure there.
I think that is so brilliant. And then just going back, because I was too fixated on on this, but you have these sprinklers, and what I like about these sprinklers, I had no idea they were there. They're pretty much hidden behind the railroad ties. And when you want to turn them on, is it just a switch and it pops up and sprays?
So we actually have them hooked into a controller down there that controls the arena sprinklers, the round pen, and all of the pastures. And then one of my personal projects, because the person who installed it said he didn't think it could be done, but I watched some YouTube videos and ordered some old parts on eBay and managed to wire in a control that it works on an app on my phone now.
Oh no!
So now I can control the sprinklers from my phone.
How
so that's been great.
Is that, you guys? And how often do you water? Is it daily?
Depends on the weather.
Okay.
So when the weather's like this, I'll water every night.
Yep.
In the winter, or if we're getting a lot of rain, or if it's not too hot, then maybe every other day or a couple times a week, but really just monitor the weather.
Right. Wow, that's so cool. And you do it at night, not in the morning, because I've come to a few farms in California. They do it morning and night.
No, so we do it overnight. So at about 1 a.m. And that also tends to be when the wind is the lowest.
Okay.
So the water reaches and doesn't get blown away so much. Plus, it just doesn't interrupt anyone who wants to come early and work, or anyone's schedule.
Yes, I think that's brilliant. And then I know you explained in our round pen video, so you guys make sure you watch that. But could you just quickly explain the process, because it really was a process for you to put in the base and the footing, which I've never, well, that's not true. I've only used sand and rubber. So if you could explain the process.
Yeah. So the first step was the grading. And so we had actually the same grading company that did Galway Downs came and graded the property here. And they did the arena. They also did the barn pad, the pathway, a few other things, but obviously the arena was the biggest project.
And they knew what they were doing. That's most important.
Definitely. So that, that rough grade and that final grading, that's going to make the biggest difference in how well the arena drains, how it lasts over time. So you need to really compact it well. And we have about a 1% slope down to that bottom corner.
Okay.
So if we get rain, it kind of all drains down that way, but it's not enough of a slope to be noticeable when you're riding.
Right. So
we did all that grading. You compact it down, and then you actually want to let it sit for a bit. You just kind of want to let the ground harden.
Did you ride on it?
No. Then it's like rock hard.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, sometimes we'll leave it 6 months to a year, someone has, and then we ride on it, but you didn't.
No, because it's going to be so far down that we want that part of it to be very hard. And then we're bringing in the sand from a special place in Simi Valley that has this type of really fine sand. And then we got the footing delivered from Footing Solutions, and it just comes in these big pallets, basically, of this felt material. Okay. And then a separate person comes in with a machine who just mixes them together. And one of our questions was, well, can we just use the drag to mix it? And
yeah, why not?
They have to pay him a separate fee too, But they said no. What really makes this footing special is that it binds with the sand, and once you do that, it's good for years. But it's really important to do that right the first time. So yeah, he basically came in with it's just a big mixer and just drives around a bunch and just really mixes it well. Then you get it really wet, kind of let it soak in a bit, and then you compact it and drag it a few times just to kind of really get it to settle and to bind, and then you have this.
And what kind of equipment is delivering? A semi? And then do you need to have equipment to unload?
Yeah, depends on who you're ordering from.
Okay.
So we did a lot of this kind of piecemeal and ourselves. You know, some people, if they're building a barn, they might have a general contractor kind of handle it.
Yep.
We did every vendor separately on our own, but that means that every vendor decides what you need. So some, like the round pen, we needed a forklift.
Yep.
We don't have a forklift.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, our neighbors across the street do.
They do. I was just going to ask, did you have to rent? Right?
Otherwise, we would have had to rent. The pallets for the footing, they actually delivered it with a small forklift on their truck.
Right.
And so they just drive it off and they can unload it for you.
Good.
So it just depends on the company.
Okay. So make sure you ask what you need. And sometimes they forget to tell you, right?
Yes.
That does end up happening. And where did you get the railroad ties?
Yes, so this was a separate project. I called a few different vendors because these are surprisingly expensive. You don't think about it too much once they're up, but called a few different places, actually around the country, and ended up ordering them from, I think she's in Wyoming.
Oh, wow. That's a difference. That's wild.
Yeah, because of how many we had.
Right.
The cost compared to out here, we saved, I think, almost $10,000.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I'm going to give you guys a tip. When we did our outdoor riding arena, they were dismantling a railroad track and putting in new railroad ties. And so we bought the railroad ties that were well used, and they worked beautifully. And then one more question on the railroad ties. Are they, how do you have them attached to the ground? Or did you just place them on top? Or do you...
No, they're staked in.
Yeah.
So now it's been so many years, it's kind of hard to see the stakes, but
no, I can't even see it.
They're buried. Here's one.
Okay.
You know, you have a few kind of throughout, but yeah, they're staked in pretty good.
And you haven't had any problems with your arena, with your railroad ties. What about, have you had any low spots? Does it puddle?
I can show you down in this corner. So one of the projects that we did right after we had it all installed, finished, you know, done, we got a huge rain, and actually this whole bottom corner kind of eroded out.
Oh.
And we hadn't even ridden on it yet.
Yeah.
So then, you know, we reached out to the grader and said, hey, like, this seems soon for this to happen.
Exactly.
You know, what's going on here? How do we prevent this? And, you know, they were kind of like, well, you need to do erosion and drainage control.
Okay.
And so that was one of those, oh, it would have been nice to know that ahead of time, but okay.
Thank you.
So at that point, they were kind of already moved on to other projects. And so they're like, oh, well, yeah, you just need to do that. But then it was a whole project of, well, how do we do that? So we did a bunch of research and reached out to a few people and found a company that just did draining and erosion control. And found this product called an S-Fence here. And you can see it's basically like a really heavy duty mesh.
Yeah.
So the holes that the water through, but it holds the sand and the footing in.
How far down does it go?
We dug down about 10 inches.
Okay. Yep.
And so it's just along this bottom half and a bit up about to like a little past halfway.
Okay. Oh,
so because this corner is kind of the low corner.
Right.
Then we put all the arena back together, put this in, and then we also put in these French drains here.
Very cool.
So we dug down, put some gravel, and then put those drains on top of it. And so that's where the water all kind of goes here and then drains out. And then it's piped down that path.
Oh, and it looks like you do have to clean it off periodically.
Yeah, like you know, not often.
Yeah.
We just got a ton of rain last week. So this is about the worst it gets.
Perfect.
But yeah, we'll just wipe that down, kind of rake it up, and then
away you go.
Drains pretty well.
Ah, it's beautiful. And then looking out at the arena, you have flowers, you have a border. Who did you get the border from? Yeah, so we got our dressage court from actually a neighbor in Temecula who was moving to Florida, and she had posted on Facebook that she was moving and selling all of her stuff. So we were able to get the court from her. Oh, it's beautiful. The flower boxes are actually just planters that I bought from Amazon and got vinyl stickers for the letters. Are they nailed into the ground?
No,
or
but
do they fall over?
I put a bunch of really heavy rocks in the bottom, because the first few times they would still tip.
Yep.
And so now, because we don't want them staked, because we do take all this out and re-level periodically. But now they're so heavy. I mean, you can lift them, but they're not going to fall over.
Yeah, you don't want to. And then I also noticed you have mirrors.
Yes.
Was that a fun project to put up?
Yeah. So that was one of the more recent projects that we did. You know, we had this arena for a while before we put the mirrors in. And the mirrors are also by Footing Solutions.
Oh,
and
so they came in and did it.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So we had gotten a quote on the mirrors when we were doing the full arena, and they were just out of our budget.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 years later, they reached out and said they had a customer place a custom order for the mirrors and then changed their mind and wanted bigger ones. So they just had these sitting in the warehouse. So we wouldn't have to pay shipping because these come from Europe.
Super.
And they could give them to us at a discount because they were just sitting there. So we got a great deal on them and they came and installed them. I think they've been up for almost 2 years now. And yeah, they're rated for outdoors, which a lot of other arena mirrors companies said we won't make any guarantees if you put them in an outdoor arena. They have a little roof cover on them, super sturdy. They have a backing, so if a horse ever kicked, you know, the glass isn't going to come out
and shatter.
Yeah, but yeah, they've held up really well.
It's beautiful. And how often do you drag your arena?
About once a day.
Once a day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Is there anything you would change?
You know, I think it would have been helpful to know what we know now about the drainage and the training. But once we made those changes, and again, that was before we had even ridden in the arena. Once we did that, we never had to do anything else. And it's been great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful outdoor riding arena. You guys, hit the like button. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And thank you for watching this video. Bye, guys.